Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over episode 1, which is creation, and I'm just going to tell you guys how I see creation. I wrote a script and I feel like when I read off of it, it's unnatural, but if I don't read off of it, I have a tendency to go deep into rabbit holes, and I'm really trying to avoid that, so I am going to stick to this script. Yeah, and my goal is to not lose my place, because I'm going to be looking at the cards and fiddling with them and then reading off of this script. So switching back and forth, I might lose my place and whatever. All right. Instead of having you guys watch me struggle open things, which is what happened last time, I opened the box up, laid the contents out. This is the regular commander deck right here with the commander, which is Sauron, Lord of the Rings. Pretty sick. And then it came with this cool collector's booster sample pack. I opened that. That took me forever. I also struggled opening that, and these are the cards I got from it. There's only 2, but they're pretty cool. An enchantment and a sorcery. Nothing crazy, just cool, simple cards. Okay, yeah, I've been excited to open this. I love all things Lord of the Rings. Like, this and Harry Potter are my favorite series of all time. Okay, without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be sleeving up my cards I just got and reading off this script and try not to lose my place. Okay. All right, so in the beginning, God creates the earth. And the first thing that God creates is his son, Jesus, the light of this world. Okay. And after God creates his son, Jesus, they together create the rest of the world in 6 literal 24-hour periods. Now, the way I understand the structure of the earth is probably different from what most people were taught. I believe the earth is flat and enclosed. There's a clear, hard dome over it called the firmament. The firmament divides the waters. There's waters above the dome and water below it. The earth itself is surrounded by an ice wall, what we know today as Antarctica. All right. And the ice wall is heavily restricted. It's protected by the world's naval militaries. From time to time, there are cruises or events, but they're controlled, strict rules, limited access. You're not allowed to stay too long, and you're definitely not allowed to go too deep, and I believe that's intentional, because if people went far enough, they would eventually reach the ends of the earth, where the firmament is. Now again, I know that's not what most people believe, but I'm just telling you how I see it. And I know that's a little non-mainstream. That's all right. God and Jesus created everything. They created the angels, the celestial bodies, sea creatures and monsters, land animals, even the great beasts, and everything was created complete. No evolution. Everything reproduces after its own kind. A lion only produces lions. A monkey only produces monkeys. Fish produce fish. Humans produce humans. And it was good. You know what? I'm not going to sleeve these yet. Some of these are double-sided, and I don't have I do have clear sleeves, but I want to get Dragon Shield clear sleeves for these cards, which are double-sided. So I'm actually going to set these off to the side real quick. and continue just leaving the rest of them that are not double-sided. Okay. Now inside the firmament you have the sun and the moon. I believe they are equal in size, but different in intensity. In the book of Enoch, it explains that the sun burns hotter and brighter, 7 times more than the moon, and both of them are within the dome. As for the stars, I'm not completely sure. They could be inside the firmament or they could be beyond it. That's something I'm still not sure of. I also suspect that what we call sky stones might actually be pieces of the firmament. And I think the reason we find them here on the surface is because governments are launching rockets upward, testing the dome. And so pieces flake off, and then we find them on the surface of the earth. They're not like buried under too much sediment. And when these rocks are tested, they can be upwards of 70%. They're between, typically tested between 40 and 70% oxygen, which is weird. But because of the way that I believe, I think that is just pieces of the firmament. That's cool. Soul ring. Again, guys, I believe in weird stuff, so. All right. Now, when it comes to humans, I believe Adam was created from the dust of the earth, possibly mixed with water. There's a moment later where Jesus heals a man's sight using mud, water, and dust together. And I don't think that's random. I think that reflects how man was originally formed. Adam wasn't primitive. He was created with a high level of intelligence and a huge capacity to learn and understand quickly. He was shown each kind of animal, and he was able to name them immediately. He could speak, process, and create names right away. At some point, Adam desired a companion, and so God in Jesus created Eve from Adam, from his rib. And they were placed in a garden in the land of Eden. This wasn't just a location, it was more like a controlled environment. Okay. Inside that garden were animals, plants, trees, fruit, and a river. And the earth at that time functioned differently. There was no rain. Instead, a mist would rise from the ground and water everything. I also believe the earth had more land than water at that time. There were rivers, maybe small seas, but most of the water was subterranean. And I think there was a body of water running along the ice wall. It's based off of what we read in 1st Enoch. Something else that stands out to me is that animals communicated. They shared speech and language with Adam and Eve. They spoke one to another the same way people speak today. And Adam and Eve saw angels. Their sight was full, their senses were open, nothing was hidden from them. And every day, Adam would walk with Jesus in the cool of the day. I believe that was in the morning before the heat of the day built. So, just think about that for a second. No death, no sickness, no violence, no lack, no confusion. Everything worked the way it was supposed to. Now, in the middle of the garden, there were 2 specific trees. The first was the tree of life. Eating from it would give eternal life. It had a presence. It had a wonderful scent. Enoch talks about the trees in the garden having a wonderful scent, all different kinds of scents. And I believe this is the same tree that will be eaten from again by those who are granted eternal entry into God and Jesus' kingdom. The second was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and this one is very different. Eating from it doesn't just give knowledge, it changes perception. It opens the mind to things that weren't there before. And with that comes death, sickness, violence. Things that didn't exist in the world yet. This tree reminds me of Pandora's box from Greek myth. Once it's opened, you can't undo it. Now, the humans were told to do a few things, but they were only given one restriction. Just one. Don't eat from that tree. And I don't see that as control. I see it as a choice. They were free to obey or free to rebel. Because without that choice, obedience doesn't mean anything. And from what I understand, Adam and Eve lived like this for about 7 years. Well, actually, for exactly 7 years, according to Jubilees. Working the garden, living together, building relationships with all kinds of animals, walking with God daily, never lacking, never sick, no death, no violence. Okay, in the next video, I'll go into the moment that breaks this world and what sets everything else in motion. All right. Thanks for chatting with me. See you guys.